on Wednesday, I was on set, which is the first time I've been on set for, I mean, I guess I'm on set for my feature, but for someone else's stuff since probably the summer. So it's been quite a few months. And in some ways, this was the biggest production I'd ever been on. There were over 30 extras, which is a crazy amount of extras.
Huh.
And I told the director going into this piece, and I'm still of this opinion, which is it's a cool shot that we got yesterday, and it's inventive and creative and looks very good. We got a real professional
Mhm.
DP and a lot of great people and a really cool location at the Carson City Community Arts Center. But the problem is it's a short film, and this scene has nothing to do with the rest of the piece. It adds
Mhm.
absolutely nothing. I mean, there's a joke or two in there, but does it actually move the story forward at all? No. Is it arguably slowing the pace of a film? Yes.
Mhm.
Is it eventually going to be cut? Most likely. And those are the kind of sets that, as a producer, it's something that you want to be cut in the writing process because that's free and doesn't involve anyone's time. But I think our director was so excited to have this big cast and crew that he kind of missed what we're doing here. He missed the reason that we're shooting. And so it was a little frustrating to have to spend 5 hours on a set for a scene that I think was
Yeah.
completely unnecessary.
Okay. That's cool.
But I mean, that's so much of
Whatever.
filmmaking. And I think
Yeah, a
as
lot of stuff doesn't isn't used or is
as a
useless.
filmmaker, as someone who makes films all of the time, it is certainly the case that if you can get something cut in pre-production, you always should. I think you should cut as much as you can in pre-production, but there's always going to be pushback for that because especially in independent small films, often the director is the writer, so it's usually the same person, and they think that everything that they wrote is gold and needs to be in there. And that can be hard to get feedback that says, hey, we need to cut the scene because if we cut the scene, we make for a better film. And there's this really weird and toxic relationship that filmmakers have where they believe that the longer the film is, the better. But sometimes, especially when it comes to short film, sometimes it's better to have a 10-minute film versus a 20-minute film. And this is something this director has struggled with a lot in his career. I mean, I love his stuff, and we're going to Whistler for one of his films. He's a great director. But in the past, he's definitely made work that are 30, 40 minutes long. And there's not a lot of people out there watching 30, 40-minute shorts.
Mhm. Not really.
Shorts are meant to be 10, maybe 15, maybe 20 minutes if it's worth it. But I think a film should always be shorter than it needs to be. I would much prefer a film be a little too short than a film be a little too long. Always leave them wanting just a little bit more. And that's something he's struggled with in the past. And it seems like this is going to be something with this piece too, unfortunately. But I'm hoping that he cuts it. He's done in the past. I remember 8 months ago, we shot the scene. And I think I remember telling you this on the podcast where we had to go up in the middle of the night up in Verdi
Hmm.
to this abandoned barn.
Hmm.
And this guy had to fuck a grave, completely naked
Hmm.
in the middle of the night. And so it's 30 degrees outside. This guy's completely naked, and we shoot the scene. We get it. We get the thing that we want to get. And we go to the cutting room. He shows us a first cut because as executive producer, I'm kind of involved in the whole process. I'm involved in the writing process. I'm involved in the direction, and I'm involved in post production too. And so he shows us the first cut, and we're sitting around and we go, we got to cut the scene. He's like, yeah, but the scene was so hard to get. It doesn't matter. And I think that's hard for many artists and filmmakers to accept is it does not matter how easy or hard the scene was to get. It doesn't matter the story behind the scene. If it doesn't add to the film, it needs to be cut. And he did the
Yeah.
right thing. He cut it and it makes for a better film. We ended up showing it a couple of weeks later and the film is much stronger because of it. I don't know if he necessarily thinks that and he has a director's cut that still has that scene in it and it's his film. He should be able to do what he wants. But I think that attachment has more to do with the difficulty of the scene. And I mean, I think myself too, looking at all these pictures I've taken, I told Brandon, which kind of broke his heart a little bit. I go, Brandon, I know we've been shooting film for 12
Mm.
weeks now. But to be honest, when I get to post production, I think a lot of these shots we're gonna have to reshoot again, just because we didn't have the right lighting, we didn't get this one
Uh-huh.
shot that I want to get, or it just didn't look right. And that's just how it is. And I mean, I'm lucky
Yeah.
enough that I have that flexibility because it's stills. I have a lot more flexibility. But I think filmmakers have this tendency to want to make as much work as quickly as possible. and unwilling to spend, which you don't see with writers, which I think is the reason why I'm so willing to spend so much time on More Beautiful Than Death. I mean, my God, we've been working on this project for almost 4 years now. And the thing about filmmakers is a lack of patience, is a willingness to say this is going to take a long time to do, and that's okay. Because whether it comes out this year or next year or the year after, we need to take the time because the story comes first, right? The film comes first before just getting it out there. So, yeah, I mean, it was cool to be on set as always. Did me and Brandon need to be on set? Probably not. I think the crew was too big. At the very least, two people too big. There wasn't really a need for me or
Mhm.
him. This director has a bit of a problem of not giving people specific roles. So unless you're the DP or the producer, there's a lot of people just kind of hanging around, not doing anything, which is an
Mhm.
extremely unproductive way to run a film set. Everyone should have a very specific job and be doing stuff at all times. But obviously, he's doing something right. He's gotten a lot of success lately. I hope the best for him. You know, he's coming up to Whistler with me. It's his film that we're
Yeah.
showing. So it could be the case that he might sell a feature idea and have a bunch of funding for a feature, and that'd be really exciting. And I'd love to be part of that process. But it's definitely not my process. And Brandon's
Mhm.
starting to consider because he's finishing the final draft of the script that we worked on this summer, and he's thinking about his process. And it's good to see that his process is much more planned out than some of
Mhm.
the sets that we've been on in the past. So that's all I wanted to end with. I like doing a little film talk here at the end, especially because I watched
Yeah.
almost no movies this
Yeah, yeah.
thing's been busy, but yeah.